Hello, YouTube. This is the Galley La Podcast, and today we're going to be talking about the One Piece live action film series, and we'll give our general thoughts and our initial takes on the casting that just happened. So, Gboss, do you want to lead this off? What do you think about the initial casting? And yeah, we'll just start there. What do you think about that?
Um, I honestly have no complaints with the casting. Um, I think they're all gonna do pretty well with it. They seem excited. Um, but my concern was never with the cast. But I like that they're kind of representing the um, the countries that Oda assigned what the Straw Hats would be in real life. Like the uh, the actor for Luffy, I think, is Latin American. Zoro's Japanese. Usopp is black, and I'm not sure about Sanji, but I think he'll pull it off. But yeah, I have no complaints with the actual casting. I'm interested to see what the rest of the cast, because we're going all the way through the East Blue arc, I think through Arlong. So I'll be interested to see what they're going to do with that. But yeah, what do you think of the cast?
Yeah, I think Sanji's actor could pull it off, and I think with Usopp's actor, it's not really like even with his looks, it's just going to be a very particular type of acting. You know, he has a very specific character. You know, kind of this immature, spastic type of personality. So I'm wondering if he can channel that. You know, Emily Rudd looks great for Nami. She's wonderful. And then Zoro's actor, I kind of wish a bit more bulkier. I think that would kind of be a little preference there. And then Luffy's actor, Inaki, I think his name is. Mm-hmm. And I think, oh man, it's so hard with Luffy because, you know, Luffy's Luffy and he has this specific characteristic and probably one of the hardest people to imitate too. So we'll wait and see. I was kind of imagining someone a little different than Luffy, but we'll see what happens with that. I guess kind of my fears, and this is kind of more with live actions as a general rule, is it's hard to, like in an anime and a manga, you can create your own universe and it's not bound by anything from the real world, if you will. And so all kind of like there's always going to be a degree of the real world affecting your creation, but there's a substantial increase of the real world affecting your creation when it comes to live action. And that's kind of my issue. I think it's like, how's Luffy's powers going to work, for example? Or is the rest of the set going to look too cheesy, basically? You know, is it going to be serious enough kind of thing? Because
One Piece
is away with the get.
Because One Piece is very serious.
Well, so what I mean is, how can I say the surrounding setting looks good in One Piece, whether it be in the anime, in the manga, in the world. But in the real world, when you do something more silly, then it can look even more ridiculous, if you will, you know? And so that's kind of more my issue with it, is like, obviously, Luffy's powers kind of work well in an anime medium, if you will, not as much in a real world medium. So, and I don't know how much money you need to make it look good. To actually look like kind of badass, even though it is silly. I guess that's kind of what I meant more about being serious.
Yeah, because I think a report just came out recently that the budget for each episode of the series, I think there's going to be 10 episodes, and I think each episode has a budget of like $10 million.
Okay.
So to put it in perspective, I think they said that the first season of Stranger Things and The Witcher, both Netflix series, had a smaller budget than that for their first seasons. And I mean, Stranger Things didn't have that much of like a effects budget, but The Witcher had more of that, and I think that they pulled it off on a lower budget. So hearing that, I'm a little bit more optimistic, but I completely agree with you that the translation of cartoon to live action, or animation to live action, is very difficult. I don't think that there have been many anime properties that have been successfully translated. The one that universally gets praise is like the Rurouni Kenshin films, and I actually watched those last week in preparation for our discussion, and they were solid, but they missed a lot of the heart of the series. I know you haven't seen Rurouni Kenshin, but it felt like a lot of the side characters were ignored, and it did a good job with translating some of the locations and stuff. But that series takes place in the real world in like 1800s Japan, so that can be kind of easily replicated. But with One Piece, it's harder to translate because the world is so fantastical. And I'm just wondering what, because we're going up all the way through Arlong Park, I'm just wondering what like the fishmen are going to be like, because we're not going to get like Davy Jones level CGI from Pirates of the Caribbean where they look amazing. And that's one of my concerns. The other concern I feel with the live action adaptation is the pacing of the release, because it's One Piece. It's a very long series.
Yeah.
And they're only covering up maybe the first 10 volumes, and we just hit volume 100. So if we go at that pace, we're gonna be like 10 years down the road at least. And I'm afraid that these actors are going to age out of the characters, because I think Emily Rudd, who plays Nami, is already I think she's 28, which is what Robin's age is in the series, I think. But that's my concern too about this. Like, how long are they going to actually take to adapt everything?
So that is an interesting point where, okay, so let's think where there were animated mediums, let's say with Daredevil, for example, with the Marvel franchise, where I thought it was a pretty, I do enjoy the series, and I think they did a good job with the live action, basically, and it was able to incorporate well into the real world too, for a TV series. And my issue is One Piece is harder to incorporate into the real world, so it's going to require more money, and it's going to require so much more care not to make it look incredibly cheesy, for example, let's say Mihawk cutting Don Krieg's ship in half.
Yeah. I mean, we're not getting
Pearl.
True. They like I don't know what they're going to do with Mihawk's sword, because it's so impractical in like a real life situation. So I do feel like a lot of the fantastical elements will be cut down. And like when they get to Whitebeard, how are they going to portray? He's supposed to be like what, 3 or 4 times bigger than Luffy. It's stuff like that I don't think is going to translate well, and that's the kind of issue I have with this Netflix live action adaptation with Avatar. Because, well, I think Avatar is pretty much perfect as it is. I don't see a reason for it to be adapted. But
yeah, and I think the hopes with the Netflix series is like, I know it's kind of always had a popularity issue in America, so maybe it could get more people from the States to get hooked into it, which doesn't make sense why you'd start with a live action with anime, but whatever. But for some reason it works for people. And I think obviously Luffy, that's going to be the biggest thing, because you have a really high room for effing it up, basically, in a very small window to hit it out of the park.
Yeah,
you know, so
you don't want him like Mr. Fantastic from the Fantastic Four. It has to have some sort of strength and weight behind it.
Like if you mess up Kobe, even though I love Kobe, like it's like okay, fine, it's Kobe. But if you mess up Luffy, it's like oof, man, that's not good. Or Captain Sam Morgan. I mean, that's what I mean. You have all these weird, goofy characters, which I think they look great in the manga and the anime. But I think the amount of money, I think Pirates of the Caribbean was a great example of what you made. Really good CGI fishmen, awesome.
Yeah.
But you need tons of money to make that look good, you know?
Exactly.
And I think even in Pirates of the Caribbean, like even the East Indian Trading Company, even their extras kind of looked cool. You know, they all had their great costumes and they all had pretty good fights. And my issue is the deficiency of even like the fodder. And I know that sounds like a weird thing to be about, but there's so many things you're going to have to go over the top for to make the goofy parts not seem terrible kind of thing.
Well,
you're going to really have to make the atmosphere feel good.
And going back to other adaptations, the Witcher adaptation of from Netflix was panned because of the enemy forces costumes looked like a big wrinkly mess. It didn't look good. It looked cheap. So, yeah. I just that's a good point with stuff looking good, even the background stuff, because they can nail the main characters, but if everything else kind of looks not good, it'll kind of take people out of it.
And I think you can mimic the world of One Piece background stuff. Be like, okay, this is pretty dope. You know, it's not super hard, you know. But the thing is, are they going to really put that time and care into it, you know? And you can say, well, Oda doesn't do that. Well, but again, once it's live action, you have to make up for it, basically, you know, to make it really good. Because it does matter more live action rather than a manga. Then it kind of matters in anime. I think that could definitely kill the vibe a lot if you had shitty fodder in the background, you know? I think Marineford was really well animated with the fodder, and that was like an essential thing, that the fodder looked really good, you know? Compared to, like, let's say Fishman, where it was a little bit more subpar, you know? With the atmosphere, I'd say. So, yeah, those are kind of my concerns. I mean, allegedly, like, the guy who's working on this is a huge One Piece fan and everything, and, you know, I'm sure he is, but I think sometimes you need to have that really meticulous mind with kind of, like, fine-tuning every last aspect of a set. And maybe it won't even be their fault, though. Maybe it's just like the main cast is going to cost so much money and time and effort that the other things are just going to suffer as a result.
Going back really quick to the length of the adaptation, the One Piece anime has been going since what, 99? So it's different when you have animation and all you have to do is voice the characters, because your voice basically can stay the same throughout these over 20 years. Like, Luffy basically sounds the same from start to where we are now, about to hit episode 1000. And I feel that's a limit with live action adaptation too.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think even like when Kizaru's voice actor died, which was terrible, or Sengoku's, they're able to find a good enough replacement, you know?
Yeah, and Whitebeard.
And Whitebeard. Yeah, so it breaks our heart because it's a long series and it's the nature of the beast. But I think when it comes to this, like, obviously this is more time sensitive. I kind of think of like the Chronicles of Narnia, for example. The kids, they had a time frame, they had to get that stuff done, basically. So they focused on the movies with all the kids in it, basically. So yeah, we'll have to see how this continues in that respect, and who knows, maybe season 1 is just bad. I wanted to be good. I'm sorry if I'm sounding negative. I really wanted to be good. I want more people to watch the series. I would like just more One Piece, the better. Sure. I just think there's a lot of constraints that are really, potentially can mess up the series.
Yeah, and I'm open for it for being good, but I'm skeptical about it. But I feel like they're gonna try their best. But sometimes there's just gonna be struggles in adaptation.
Oh, definitely, for sure. So, any closing thoughts on generally? Where do you think? Hopes. Like, what do you? How about just what's one thing you would like to see specifically in the series?
I know it's not the main thing, but I do kind of want. It's obviously not going to live up to it, but I want the action to translate well, because there's such over the top things in there. Like I'm mainly thinking about the Arlong Park fights, because that's kind of the climax of the East Blue. That's the biggest that we're gonna see in the season. So I think that besides that, I it's hard to describe. I want them to capture the sense of adventure of the series as well, and everything. And I don't want them going like too wink wink nudge nudge to people who are so far into the series. Like, I don't want them putting clues to like references to Sabo or something already in the series.
Yeah.
Because we didn't really have a sense of Sabo at that point in the story at all. So in hindsight, they might try to retroactively include that. And I feel like that would get too muddled in there. But yeah, but I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, for me, just simply atmosphere. I want it to look good. I want it to feel like the world of One Piece. And I think, the anime gets a lot of grief. I genuinely think that when you watch the anime, you do get the feel of One Piece. You do get the sense of the world and everything. And Oda's just really good at that kind of stuff. And my fear is just like they do a good job of the characters, and then everything else is just kind of crappy. Just kind of there to be there kind of thing. So yeah, that's my main hope, is just the atmosphere is good. Honestly, I would prefer a better atmosphere than a better main cast in terms of their acting ability. Like, that's how much I would put it into it, basically. Because we know how, people love One Piece largely for the world building. And if the world's just kind of like cookie cutter, then it takes away a lot of the joy of the series.
Yeah.
So
I think that there's going to be a limited amount of that in this, because we're only going up through Arlong Park. But I think we'll get a taste of the world building.
Yeah, sure. No, and I think so too. Yeah, I just in terms it will be there on narratively speaking. I get that. I just want to see it manifested, illustrated in the series itself. Yeah. So, anyways, so I think we'll kind of wrap it up there. We wanted to keep a little brief today, but so thanks for listening, guys. We'll probably do another episode later this week for the next One Piece chapter. And stay safe out there. Give a like, subscribe if you enjoy the channel, and we'll see you soon. Have a good one, guys. Peace.
Bye.